Live from the WCTV studios, this is Eyewitness News at noon. Coverage you can count on.
Florida preparing for what could be one of the strongest storms in history. Irma battered the Turks and Caicos Island overnight. Now the Category 4 storm is set to hit Florida this weekend.
Kristen Holmes has more now from Miami Beach, where thousands are evacuating. Kristen, what can you tell us?
In a press conference this morning, Florida Governor Rick Scott asking people repeatedly to evacuate, saying that if they didn't evacuate, it might not be possible for rescue workers to get in to reach them once that storm hit. He did warn of both 20-inch rainfall and life-threatening storm surge.
Florida is busy preparing for Hurricane Irma.
If you have been ordered to evacuate and are still home, please go. Today is the day to do the right thing for your family and get inland to safety.
Forecasters still aren't sure exactly where the storm will hit.
This is a complex forecast. Anybody from Alabama to North Carolina should be watching this storm very closely.
People in the Sunshine State are getting ready anyway. They're getting out however they can. Travelers stood in line for hours at airports, cars headed north, causing interstate backups and slowdowns, while drivers waited at gas stations, some of which ran out of fuel. Depending on Irma's path, the powerful storm could create one of the largest mass evacuations in U.S. history.
Well, our sincere hope is that people do pay close attention to the evacuation guidance given by the governors, the local mayors, and other officials, and so and get out of the way, basically to run from the water, the storm surge.
The urgency is spurred by the destruction Irma has wrought in the Caribbean. Irma shredding buildings, toppling cars, and leaving streets submerged in water. These stories in the aftermath of Harvey in Texas have the southeastern coast of the U.S. taking the storm very seriously.
And in a statement just now by Florida Power and Light Company CEO, they said that about 9 million people could be impacted by Irma if it stays on its current path. Reporting live in Miami, I'm Kristen Holmes. Now back to you.
All right, thanks, Kristen, for that report live in Miami. Thank you so much. Well, all of those Florida public schools are closed through Monday, so will FSU and FAMU. TCC will be closed through Tuesday and will reopen Wednesday. Well,
changes also being made to schools throughout South Georgia. Valdosta City schools will be closed on Monday. Lowndes and Cook County schools will also be closed. Valdosta State University is shut down through Tuesday, and Thomas University is closed on Monday.
Some events that were scheduled for this weekend have also been canceled. The Florida State versus Louisiana Monroe football game, FSU's volleyball home tournament, FAMU's 2017 Grape Harvest Festival is also canceled.
Leon County Humane Society Dog Wash canceled. Leon County 911 Day of Remembrance and Service is canceled. That happens, I believe, on Monday. And ACT testing at Jefferson High in Monticello and Gadsden County is canceled. Hurricane Irma is not expected to impact us directly in this area.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you step outside, it's really nice out there, but we're all concerned about when Irma or if Irma will hit us here, Rob.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of uncertainty to go with it. As much as that doesn't make everyone happy to hear, it is what it is. Now, we can show you what's going on right now and what is going to happen in parts well to our south. That is the satellite presentation with Irma. The eye itself may be a little less well defined and not seeing as many colors inside. Still could be undergoing that eyewall replacement cycle. We'll watch to see how this develops over the next hour or two or more. Now, up here, when you get to the far fringes, maybe we can see that first rain band. That's about 100 miles off the southeast Florida coast. So maybe in the next 6 to 9 hours, they see the beginnings of some of the very light rain bands around this very large system, which still expands about 500 miles from northwest to southeast. It's huge and still that way. The latest numbers with this are still painting the same picture. A lot of folks have been asking about Jose out behind it, which does look like it's going to stay out to sea. And of course, there is Katia up against the Mexican coast. But our focus is going to stay firmly on Irma, which as of 11 o'clock, it's got winds at 150 miles per hour, moving west-northwest at 14. And that current path, we're still waiting to see when that turn is going to happen. That is super important as the cone continues to shift maybe a little bit more west. That puts more of the Florida Peninsula and the Big Bend areas in play, but we'll be able to shrink that cone more and more within the next 24 to 30 hours, guys.
Thank you very much, Ron. Appreciate that. We'll check back with you in just a few moments. New this morning, one person is dead after a crash in Tallahassee. The crash happened around 3:40 in the morning at the intersection of South Blairstone Road and Winewood Boulevard. Tallahassee police and emergency crews responding to that scene. They say one person died from their injuries. Right now, the crash is still under investigation. If you have any information about this crash, please call Tallahassee Police.
Well, meanwhile, Hurricane Harvey left hundreds of thousands of cars, SUVs, and trucks underwater in Texas, as you can imagine, and Hurricane Irma is bound to leave more across the U.S.
But as Nikki Batista reports, these flood cars can be a golden ticket for scammers.
This racetrack outside of Houston has become a refuge for thousands of vehicles flooded when Hurricane Harvey hit the Gulf Coast. It's estimated the trillion gallons of rain dumped during the storm ruined about 500,000 cars. After insurers mark the titles as flooded, many of the vehicles land at auctions where they can be sold for parts.
Flooded cars literally rot from the inside out.
But Christopher Basso with Carfax says scam artists will buy the damaged vehicles, clean them up, and try to resell them.
Not only are they potentially going to be resold right there in Texas, but they can move their way hundreds, if not thousands of miles away to people who have no idea that that car was once underwater in a flood.
It is illegal to sell flood cars as long as the damage is disclosed on the title, but sometimes it's not, and shady sellers can even forge documents.
Even if the car has been cleaned up and it seems to run fine, a year from now, that corrosion that started to build up inside can come back to haunt you.
AAA's car doctor John Paul says used car buyers should always look for signs of flooding, like a musty odor, rust, and watermarks and dirt on the seats and seat belts.
Use all your senses when you go to see the car. Look everywhere. Look in every nook and cranny. Look for sand, silt, things that don't belong in a certain place.
But it can be hard to spot damage. This video from Carfax shows how scam artists can scrub away evidence of a flood. That's why experts say always do a background check and have a mechanic inspect a used car before you buy it. Nikki Batiste for CBS News, New York.
Carfax recommends people looking for a used car shop at reputable dealerships, of course, and if you're shopping online, only consider places where the vehicle's history is included.
Something you don't think about with hurricanes, about flooded cars.
There's a lot of those cars going to be sold, though, that we saw in the flooded areas. All right, well, coming up, while the U.S. is prepping for Irma, people south of the border face two threats.
Yeah, that's right. A hurricane and one of the most powerful earthquakes ever to hit Mexico. We'll take you there in just a minute.